In this video, we will look at the mouse track extension from Elements Hive. The mouse track extension is part of the mouse effect extensions category, and it can be selectively enabled on any element on a page. When enabled, it allows the element to shift its position on the page based on mouse movement. The extension can be enabled from the Settings tab of any element. In this video, we will use an image element. Once enabled for our image element, we can see the image shifting its position slightly based on the mouse movement. To make the movement more easily visible on the video, I'll increase the maximum distance setting for now. The first setting available is the direction. Using the direct option, which is also the default behavior, the element will shift its position in the direction of the mouse movement. While with the opposite option, the element will shift its position in the opposite direction of the mouse movement. Next, we have the maximum distance. This is the maximum distance that the element can shift from its original position in any direction. Next is the speed factor. This controls the rate at which the element will shift its position to match the mouse movement. With a value of 0.1, we can see that the element lags quite a bit behind the mouse movement. Increasing it to 0.5, the element catches up faster with the mouse movement, but there is still some smoothness to the rate of change. And the higher the value we use, the more the rate of change of the position will be in sync with the mouse movement. Next, we have the Apply Depth setting. When enabled, the element will also shift on the Z-axis based on the chosen settings. The first setting relative to the depth movement is the axis for depth setting. This controls which mouse movement directions will be used for applying depth to the element. The default option is horizontal, which means depth will be applied based on the horizontal mouse movements. Then we have vertical, which applies depth based on the vertical mouse movements. Lastly, we have diagonal, which applies depth based on the horizontal and vertical mouse movements. How much depth is applied to the element depends on the maximum distance setting, the mouse position on the screen, and the depth factor setting, which we will see next. In this case, given the maximum distance of 100 that we have and the default depth factor, when using the diagonal axis option, we can see the image getting too big when the mouse is at the top left and bottom right corners. We can reduce the depth that is applied by tweaking the depth factor setting. We can also control how much depth is applied using the maximum distance setting, since that is also part of the calculation. Using these settings, we can create different movement patterns on all three axes. Another thing we can do is reverse the operations by using negative values for the depth factor. By default, when using the horizontal axis, we can see the element getting bigger when the mouse is moving to the right and smaller when it's moving to the left. If we use a negative value instead, the operation is reversed and it will get bigger when moving to the left and smaller when moving to the right. And the same thing is true for the other two axes. The last option we have is the Disable on Touch Devices setting, which disables the extension on touch-capable devices. The ability to apply the effect on any element and the settings explained in the video allow us to use the extension in different creative ways. We already saw some examples at the beginning of this video, and you can see more different implementations in the Elements Hive demo sections available in the Breakdance design library. One thing to note is that the extension can be used not just for the design, but also for functional purposes by giving visual clues to the site visitor. In this standard pricing section, using visual hierarchy principles of color and contrast, we are drawing the user's attention to the freelancer plan in the middle. This static visual differentiation works well when first viewing the section, but the effect usually wears off the longer the user is viewing the section to compare the different plans available. In this case, we can use the mouse track extension to give more dynamic visual cues to the user when moving the mouse around the screen and comparing the features. We don't want to have much movement on the X and Y axis, so we give it a very low maximum distance value. Then we will enable the Apply Depth option and tweak the settings so that the card for the freelancer plan gets bigger when the mouse moves to the left of the screen and smaller when the mouse moves to the right of the screen. This way, our recommended price plan is always on the user's mind, and it will get bigger when the user is on the cheaper plan and smaller when the user is on the more expensive plan. Now you have all the knowledge you need to make full use of the mouse track extension. And if you haven't done so yet, don't forget to press that like button, share the video with others who may benefit from it, and subscribe to be notified of future videos.